class. In this class, we are going to discuss some very important things. Please make sure that you are all understanding. I will just try to cover each and every concept, meaning one or two examples and all. So in previous class, I successfully completed discussing the disadvantages of Spring Boot, each and everything, and each and every disadvantage was explained very clearly and elaborated in a clear manner, so such that every beginners or any students or any person can easily understand what is why we are going to use Spring Boot. Either way, we are having Spring, but why we are not using Spring and why we are using Spring Boot, how why Spring Boot was introduced, and what are the disadvantages of Spring very much clearly introduced and explained. And I have shown you the differences between Spring and Spring Boot also. And after the disadvantages topic, I just gave some conclusion to the Spring framework disadvantages. And later on, we just discussed about what is Spring Boot and why Spring Boot was introduced. And we have clearly discussed about what are the key features of Spring Boot and all. And later on, after completion of this class, by end of the session, so by the end of the session, we clearly discussed how Spring Boot was going to solve the Spring framework problems. Okay, in Spring, what we have, how the disadvantage is being solved in Spring Boot. I have clearly written as a point wise, like so in one line I have clearly written in Spring too much of configuration. For this disadvantage, what we have in Spring Boot, very much clearly written. So fine. So in this class, we are going to discuss about what is an REST, what is an API first. We will discuss about APIs and all, and then what are the types of APIs we have, which API are going to use, and why we are not using that API. Then this, so everything is going to be explained very clearly. So please attend to during this class. So let me get into the concept. So without directly getting into the what is meant by REST API and REST controller everything, so just let me explain you just what is an API first. Okay, so every time when you are when you are learning anything or any concept, please make sure that why you are learning the concept and what is the use of the concept. What if you don't have that concept? How what are the difficulties you are going to face? So every time, not only this course, not only Java full stack or not only Python full stack, any full stack or any ML or any AML, anything, when you are learning anything, so just learn just know about the things, what you are learning, why you are learning. And if I don't learn this thing, this particular concept, what I'm going to lose? Just pros and cons, discuss about all pros and cons, then get into the concept clearly. So without getting into the concept directly, let me explain you what is meant by API first. Okay. So what is an API? So every first initial step we need to know about what is an API. So every if a developer or for any student learning full stack, just learn the things how front end and back being communicating each other. You are having front end application and you are having back end application. How these front end and back end applications are communicating each other. So like this. So without knowing anything how they are communicating, so we'll just how they're we'll discuss about how front end and back end is getting communicated each other, and how the request is being sent from front end to back end, and what is happening in the back end. You don't have the request. If you have the request have in your database, how this request is being carried to the front part, how this request carried from database, and how these response carried to the front end. Everything need to be very clear in a structured manner. So let me explain you first using of API. So API is, I can tell you simply, API is the communication between, or API is going to act as a bridge between your end application and back end application. Okay. So let me write you let me write. Okay, fine. So let me write what is an API first. So what is an API? So this is a basic question. So what is an API first? So when like think like this, before writing any code, before writing before writing the code or before writing code, first understand understand what we are building. First understand what we are building. Okay. So if you are building any application, just think about it, in which way we are going to build and what we are building and everything and all. Just think about this. So After every clarification, we are going to think in an elaborated way. So for this thing, what is an API? So API stands for Application Programming Interface. Application Programming Interface. So API stands for Application Programming Interface. So fine. So let me give you some examples. So let me give you some real-time examples. What is an API then? So with these examples, you are going to understand the real-time use case of the API and how API is being communicating between front-end and back-end application. So let me give you some real-time examples. So let me give you some headings like real-time example number one. At the earlier start time of this session, I had just told you I'm just closing the topic by giving just one example. I'm going to give you one or two examples. So I'm just mentioning the number, example number one. So by one more number of examples, you are going to understand the concept more deep. Okay. So just imagine you just go to a restaurant. You just go to a restaurant. Imagine just you are going to a restaurant. So restaurant. So what you are going to do after going to the restaurant? Just imagine yourself as a client. Here, imagine yourself as a client. Okay, you in the sense you are the client here. Okay, just wait a second. So you are the client. Okay, I'm not writing this here, but I will write. Okay, I will write at the time of understanding. So just you are the client. I will write like this. You are the client here, and so kitchen is a server. Think kitchen as a server. Kitchen kitchen is a server, and think waiter as an API. Waiter is the API. So whenever you visit a restaurant, you are going to see. You do not going to. You are not going to the kitchen directly, and you are not preparing your own food, right? So let me write the point. Okay, you do not go to kitchen, right? You do not go to kitchen directly. You do not go to kitchen directly and cook your own food. So it's fine. So whenever you are going to the restaurant, just imagine you as a client and kitchen is the server and waiter is the API. So and you do not go to the kitchen directly and cook your own food. So whatever the things you want, you're just giving your order to the waiter, and waiter is going to the kitchen and he's telling you to prepare the order the order or the request you given to the waiter. So waiter API here. So whatever we want, if I want any order, if I want any starter item or any food item, I'm just giving that request to API. API in the sense waiter. So waiter is going back to the kitchen and is telling us to prepare the item we told, and the request is getting processed. So the request is being processed, and the kitchen, the cook, the chef, they are going to prepare the item we said, and they are going to prepare the item and they're going to give the same item in the form of response, and the waiter is going to bring that response to a table. Okay. Imagine as a restaurant, so you are going to order an item, you are going to give an order food item to the client. In the sense, you are going to give an order to waiter is going to the kitchen, and in the kitchen the chef or cook, they are going to prepare the food item you told or you requested, and the food item was being prepared, and after some few minutes or couple of minutes the food item is being prepared, and the waiter has came to take the order, and he took the food item and he came to your table. So imagine here the food item as the thing you want, the response, and the request was sent to the kitchen using the API. Your API is the waiter, and the kitchen is the server, and you are the client. Okay, this being communicated. So how you are going to get your food item? You are not directly going into the kitchen. You are giving your order to the client. Sorry, waiter. Okay, fine. Let me write as a points here directly. So with this, you can understand what is an API then. So you imagine you. So what you are going to do? You are going to do the first thing you are going to is you are going to give order to waiter. Order to waiter. This is the first step you are going to do after going to the restaurant. So waiter takes the request. Whatever the order you told to the waiter, that order or the request is going to be taken to the kitchen by the waiter. Fine. So what's the next step? Kitchen going to prepare your food. In kitchen, they are going to there being some chef or cook. They are going to prepare the items you want. So prepares the food. Prepares food in the sense. Okay. So prepares food. So waiters bring. So whatever waiter brings the response back to you. So in the sense, so you are going to give a request to the waiter. Waiter in the sense API, that API is going to kitchen, and that the request you are asking is going to be prepared. If the request is there, and that request is going to be prepared, and the response is going to come back to you in the form of the same. How the waiter goes to the kitchen, in the same way that response is going to bring back to your table. Okay. So here I can tell you. Sorry. So here So here, you is the client. Okay, let me write like this. You yourself is the client here. Just wait a second. Client, and here kitchen is, think kitchen as a backend or server, backend or server, and waiter as API. Waiter as API. Fine. And what's the food item here? Food item is the response you are getting. Response. Okay. And where is the request then? Request is nothing but order. Order, whatever order you are going to give, it is the request. You are going to give request to the waiter. Waiter here, who is the waiter? API is the waiter. API is going to the kitchen. Who is kitchen? Backend. So, and kitchen is going to prepare the food. What is the food here? Response. So, that server is going to prepare your response, whatever you want. And the response is being back to you, bringing back to you by the waiter. Okay. Fine. So API, I can tell you in simple words. I can tell you API is a middle layer. API is a middle layer that allows two systems to communicate. API is a middle layer that allows two systems to communicate. Okay. I can. So, okay. So API is a middle layer that allows two systems to communicate. Here systems are nothing but one back-end applications or front-end application. Okay. So I can also say API is going to act as a bridge between front-end application and back-end application. So this was the first example I'm going to give you what is an API. So I can also give some real-time example number two. I can write like this example number two. Right, like this example number two. So what is going to our example number two? So I can tell you we are having so many applications to check our bank balance, right? So let me try it as a mobile banking app. Okay, so what we are going to do, what we are going to have in mobile banking app. So whenever we are going to open, so when you open a banking app, when you open a banking app, so when you open a banking app, I can tell you you are going to check your bank balance, or if you are going to send some money to your some ex person. So these are the two operations you are going to do whenever you open a banking app. So I can write some examples like, so here you are going to check your bank balance. So you can, so whatever the thing you can check your bank balance, or you click on I can write like this. You click on check balance. Okay, you click on check balance. Fine. So whenever you click on this check balance, this app, whatever the app you are using, that app is going to sends the request to the bank server, to the bank server. So next, what is going to happen? If the server is going to process the request, server is going to process the request. Fine. So after processing the request, the response going to come back in the form of balance we have. Response response comes back with some balance amount. Okay. Whatever the amount you have, some 100 rupees or 200 rupees or 10,000 rupees, it can be any amount. Okay. So in this case, I can tell you are not directly accessing the database. Okay. You are not directly accessing the database. So you are using some APIs to access the database. So those APIs are going to send your request to the backend, and if the request is being processed by the server, and if the whatever the thing you requested, if that particular thing is there in your the same thing if you the same thing if you have in your the database, the request is going to be processed and the response is going to come back to your in any form the request you have. But if you don't have, what if you don't have the what if I don't have the requested thing in the database, you are going to see some wrong message, like some field messages like incorrect passwords or not available or not found, 404 not found, like this. If the requested, whatever you requested, if that is not available in your backend system or in your database, you are not going to get that response. You are going to get some message like not available. What if I can say, let us take an example of Tatkal booking, ticket, Tatkal booking. So whenever you are going to log in at the time of 11 a.m. for booking, so whenever you log in into the IRCTC application for booking app, for booking or ticket, so whenever you are seeing some tickets count, and if you are having some tickets count available there, it means the tickets are available. So if you can directly book your ticket. See, what if you log in into the application 1 2 minutes late? Those all tickets are going to be completed. So you are not going to see the tickets available. They're simply going to show you a message called as not available. In a sense, the tickets are completed. So if whatever the request you are asking from, whatever the request you want from the database, if the request is being there in the database, you are going to get the response. What if you don't have the response in your database? You are going to get some not found, not available, like these messages. So with this, I can tell you, you are not directly accessing the database. So that API are going to access the database. Whatever the request you sent, that request is going to send is sent by the API to the server, and the server is going to process the request you sent, it received. The server is going to process the request it received, and the response is going to come back in the form of some. If you are checking bank balance, the response is going to come in the format of some balance amount, some digits. Okay, it based on our request, the response is going to come. Okay, so next. There is an what if you can ask some students or can have still doubt here, where is an API? If whenever you click on check balance, that request is being sent by the API only. That request is being sent to the API. Okay, I can tell you there is an always API in between apps. There is always an API. There is an always an API in between. Okay, the things you want to do and the things you want from any application are going to request. That request is sent to the application in the form of API only. Okay. So I can tell you a simple definition or a formal definition. API is a set of rules. API is a set of rules that allows one software application to communicate with the other software application. Communicate with the another software application. Sorry. Okay. API is a set of rules that allows. Okay, that allows. Sorry. Okay. API is a set of rules that allows one software application to communicate with the another software application. So here we are just completed with what is an API.